Hello, St. Lucia. Hello, and welcome to the Folk Research Center, which presents to you a Reading Month edition. Pretty much, how are you? Lend me an ear. Come closer as we take you on a journey into what makes us who we are. I am Catherine Isaac. Welcome to Vini Tann Sa. Sit back, listen, and enjoy.
An excerpt by Stephanie Hippolyte from the Traditions of St. Lucia. Our St. Lucian Creole way of life. The St. Lucian way of life in the past was a rich one, full of joy, full of contentment and good Christian concern for each other. There was a goodwill and the spirit of brotherhood prevailed in every community, village and town. That was the message conveyed to us by the late Leonard John and late Clifton Joseph, two elderly gentlemen from Pierre. They were themselves part and parcel of the joie de vivre that existed in the early 1890s. As they recalled the pleasant memories of growing up as schoolboys, they recalled that life was full of fun, laughter, and charity, mingled with hard work, dedication, and determination. Everyone seemed to have had the zeal to achieve. The desire to become successful loomed large in the minds of all. Everything in the environment in those days seemed to add a special meaning, some kind of flavor and variety to life. The rivers provided crayfish and crabs for the everyday meals. They were the source of water for drinking, cooking, washing, cleaning, and bathing. Most settlements were established close to rivers to guarantee survival. The calabash from the calabash tree were used for a number of domestic purposes. They were made into cups, plates, bowls, containers for carrying and storing water, containers for storing salt, salted meat and fish, ladies to dip into the big pitchers of water, and even into musical instruments as the shak-shak. In the absence of refrigerators, giant-sized calabashes and earthen pitchers and goblets kept water fresh and cool throughout the day. The woody stem of the bamboo was used for the making baskets, shacks, huts, fences, fish pots, and cannons for bursting kerosene bombs during the Christmas season. The making of a fish pot was not just a simple exercise to occupy time, but a means of earning one's livelihood. To make a fish pot, one needed bamboo, twine, and a sharp knife. The bamboo was first cut into long, thin strips. Then the smooth strips were plaited into a network. One needed 6 sides of the plaited network to make a fish pot. The largest pair of sides was used for the base and the top of the pot. 2 rectangular pieces were used to sew the base and top together. The 2 smallest pieces were used for the 2 openings, one at the base and the other at the top of the pot. At that time, one side of the pot was sold for 4 cents. A fisherman would give a deposit of 2 cents on the purchase of one side of a pot. He would go out fishing, and on his return, he would pay the remaining 2 cents after he had sold his catch. A completed fish pot was sold for 2 shillings and 6 pence, which is 60 cents. Today, this same fish pot is sold for more than $25 in some rural communities, for as much as over $100 in others. The gardens provided food crops such as sweet potatoes, dasheen, yams, tanya, cassava, malobi, or tuluma. The food or ground provisions, as they were called, was boiled overnight. In the morning, the food was warmed over a grill on a stone hearth. The grilled food forms an integral part of the morning meal. It was served with thick, hot local chocolate. Breadfruit was also used when it was plentiful in season. Most families reared animals such as goats, pigs, sheep, poultry, and a few cows. Milk was available and breakfast consisted of faring and milk. When an animal was slaughtered, particularly the cow, sheep, or goat, the skin was a valuable asset to mothers. The skin was soaked, washed, dried, and used as a mackintosh for babies to lie on or prepared for making leather. Malawi or toloma, or some of us may know it as arrowroot, was a root tuber which was commonly grown. The crop was ready in about 9 months. When fully matured, the arrowroot was dug out of the ground. The loose, dry skin was scraped clean off the flesh. That white flesh was grated to extract a thick paste, which was collected in a large container. As the paste remained exposed to the atmosphere, it became brownish red in color. The paste was carried near a river where a large piece of cloth was used to separate the starch from the residue. Large quantities of the water was needed to wash off the brownish red color from the starch. The starch was washed and strained in clear water several times. Then it was allowed to settle in large buckets or containers. After it was settled, the starch was allowed to soak in an acid solution obtained by squeezing either lime, lemon, or sour oranges in the water. That was done to remove all the impurities from the starch and to help it get white again. When the starch became white in color, the acid solution was drained out. At that point, all water was thrown out of the starch. The fine white substance was then cut into pieces and allowed to dry in the sun. When dried, the arrowroot was used to make porridge for babies. The same spirit of cooperation prevailed when someone died, since there was no telephone calls in the rural communities. Communication was done by word of mouth. To inform your friends and relatives of a death, someone would go on a ridge of a mountain or a hill and shout the relevant information across to the people of the neighboring community. The people of the receiving community would follow the same procedure, and all concerned passed on in the information verbally. When night fell, the people prepared themselves to offer their condolences to the bereaved family or families. They would bring along rum, coffee, tobacco, and provisions. That was to supply the sympathiers with food, drinks, and coffee throughout the week.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to join us for another episode of Vini Tann Sa. Visit Folk Research Center's library at Barnard Hill Castries for more. Bonne journée.